G83, number one.
For me, well, it's an interesting question because the subject came out late 6th grade to start a band.
We were all gonna get Warlock guitars or whatever. That didn't quite work out for everybody, so I got a crappy little acoustic guitar, and I started about 3 years ago.
This is my second, my favorite bass in the world, and I probably won't get another one for a long time because I love that bass to death.
We were the Stumps, the Flaming Stumps, and some people wanted to be Twinkle Number 5.
Our fan base,
Yeah.
it's widening slowly, thanks to MySpace.com.
We can if we want to, we can go to the top. We can do anything we need to, anything we want to.
Hella fame and fortune for Garage 83 because we kick ass, bitch.
Here's another band that's been around the School of Rock. This is your 27th rock title, I think. In fact, we're probably going to have to kick them out after a couple more times because they're getting too old. Yep. But they're one of our favorite bands. They're going to play some of your favorite songs. This is Garage 83, everybody. Come on now.
I am Thomas Grenard.
And what was your position in the band?
I played guitar and sang.
Do you ever seem to have one of those days when I was just about to case from teach? I was waiting on your best girlfriend to lay house with me all the time, but I found a way to get out of it. Let me tell you about.
I'm a student at the University of Montana, and I'm studying English, specifically literature. And I work a little bit on campus at the cafeteria called the Food Zoo. Garage 83 was like something to do. Like everyone has their thing to do after school, and like music was our thing to do. Like football is some people's thing to do, and like art club and that sort of thing. Ours was just music.
My name is Jared Collins.
And what was your position in the band?
My role in Garage 83 was the bass player, so I held down the rhythm section and the low end.
All day long I think of things, but nothing seems to satisfy. Think I'll lose my mind if I don't find something to pacify.
I am currently a CPR instructor for healthcare providers, so I teach CPR to doctors, nurses, med students, paramedics, people like that, and I am also going to school to be an addictions counselor. To me, being in a band was an outlet. It was a place to get sort of the teenage wiggles out a little bit, and it was a creative outlet. It was just a fun time with friends, you know, bouncing around, playing instruments and being loud.
It was pretty important. That was pretty much all I did other than school. I didn't do that much school, so pretty much all I did was music.
music was really important to me. I listened to music all the time. If I wasn't playing music, I was listening to it. And even now, everywhere I go, I'm usually tapping on a drum beat, or I've got some song in my head, and that's just sort of how I go about my day. It's how I focus. I tap on things. It drives people nuts. Yeah, I think that being in the spotlight was a little bit of it, and I think a little bit of it was music just is so primal. It it hits something in human beings that's so unobtainable otherwise, that I think is really interesting, and I always loved that, and I always loved the way that music made me feel, like the way that a song could evoke such a strong feeling that had nothing to do with what I was doing at the time.
We practiced, what was it? I think it was once a week at the school, and then once or twice a week outside of that, usually on the weekends, at someone's house. We played a lot of shows, like one every 4 months or so. We were usually in the second half of the show, which was always good. We weren't like the warm-up band. So this is a shirt from one of the earlier shows we played, because it's in 2006. And this was just, they called them rock recitals. It was like a recital, but it was for all the bands. There were several bands. Yeah, we did a lot of these.
And that has your picture on it right there, right?
Yeah, this is a picture just of a guitar, and I'm here in the background.
Yeah, I mean, I still play when I can, when I have time, and it's still a part of my life, and just not in the same capacity that it used to be.
It ended because it had to, basically, because we're all going off in different directions for college, and other people with just other things, just continuing life, but we're all splitting up, so we had to kind of dissolve a little bit. But I don't think anyone was too pissed about it, because we're all kind of excited to move on.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, wow. Well, Garage 83 ended, and I continued with high school, and I was in some other bands along the way, and I started writing more of my own music, and I got into theater in high school as well, and I was in a lot of plays at school, and I graduated from high school in 2009, and I had no interest in going to college. I decided not to.
Well, I kept playing in bands through the rest of high school, with other people. And then those eventually dissolved because I had to leave for college. Because the bands after Garage 83, we tried to get a little more serious. We recorded a CD, but it was in not a big name studio or anything. But we tried to do the big name stuff, and that was really expensive and lots of schedule conflicts. And it was just kind of this is not how I want to live the rest of my life.
People always tell you that being an artist and being a musician for a living is not what it's cracked up to be, and that it's not all glamour, and it sounds so obvious when you decide that you want to do music for your life. You're like, yeah, duh, of course it's not always going to be awesome. And then you start doing it and you realize how true it is. And I think that I got kind of miserable in it. I hated it after a while. And I think I had convinced myself so much that that was what I had to do with the rest of my life, that it took me a long time to realize that I didn't have to keep going down that path, and that I could change and go elsewhere and do other things. So it was kind of a long journey to realize that that just wasn't for me.
I was still pretty into the idea of playing music for a while, my first year of college. And then it just kind of fizzled out because we had a pretty unique group in the fact that our mindsets were all essentially the same, or for the most part the same, or we could all get along really well. And I feel like now finding people with similar mindsets a lot harder. So that transitioning over to writing is a more solitary activity, so you don't really have to take in other people's opinions. You can just kind of do what you want to do. I mean, there's like the editing and publishing and that sort of deal, but for the meat of it, it's what you want to do. Whereas playing in a band is getting 4 or 5 different people's opinions and trying to mix them all together, which was part of the fun. But coming from a more practical, point of view, it doesn't make sense really to do that if you're just trying to do your own thing.
Yeah, I had really convinced myself as a kid that was what I wanted to do, and then I went out and did it, and it just, doing it all the time and doing it professionally kind of took the fun out of it. It stopped being something that I loved, and it was just a chore, and it was something that I had to do. And you go to these gigs, and it's when you're not really a successful band and you're just some group that's trying to make it, you end up playing at these bars and pubs and these dives. And I remember one night there were people having a birthday party at this dive bar we were playing at, and they actually asked us to stop playing. Well, more specifically, they asked the bartender to ask us to stop playing. And that was kind of a crushing blow to the ego. And it was stuff like that just all the time. Eventually it was just too much, and I couldn't keep doing that.
Well, the goal then was to become famous musicians, I'm sure, for all of us, or something along those lines. And then now it's, fame wouldn't be bad now, just for different things.
It was this giant myth that I had built in my head of the life that I was going to have. And I had built that up for so long. It's kind of like they say, if you tell yourself a lie enough times, you start believing it yourself. And I had convinced myself that was all there was, and that was all that I could do with my life. And that I think to a certain degree I felt that I wasn't capable of anything else, really.
I'd like to eventually become a writer somewhere down the road. And cooking school is not out of the question either. So I'm kind of doing both things at once right now.
Why the transition from music to writing specifically?
Because I think writing can reach a bigger audience. Because you don't have to be there, they can buy a book and take it home, and it can, you don't have to travel anywhere. People don't have to travel to get the book. It's just in the bookstore. I think it reaches a much wider audience, and the age group too. Like a lot of the age group was our friends, but this writing can reach any age group. Well, not any writing, but a lot of writing can reach any age group if it's age appropriate.
I want to work as a counselor. I'm looking to work either with at-risk teens or in the criminal justice system, so working with convicts and helping them, because I think there's a real need for it there. And other than that, I'd like to start a family and have kids and continue to be with my wife that I love so much, and just live life and not be too focused on what I think it should be. Hella fame and fortune for Garage 83.
That's a wrap! La la la!